Single dad stood by her when her date vanished, not knowing she was a billionaire CEO falling hard. Sarah Mitchell sat alone at the corner table of Romano's, the city's most elegant Italian restaurant, checking her phone for the 7th time. Her date was now 45 minutes late. Around her, couples laughed over candlelight while servers glided past with knowing, pitying glances. She'd taken the evening off from running a billion-dollar tech empire to try, just once, to be a normal woman on a normal date. But as the minutes crawled by and the texts went unanswered, that familiar loneliness crept back in. She was about to leave when she noticed him, a man at the next table, gently wiping marinara sauce off his young daughter's cheek, looking at her with such tender patience that something in Sarah's chest tightened. What happened next would change both their lives forever. Before we continue with this incredible story, if you love heartwarming tales about kindness and the unexpected connections that change our lives, please hit that subscribe button and join our Heartfelt Moments family. Give this video a like if you believe in the power of compassion, and drop a comment below telling us about a time a stranger's kindness touched your heart. Now, let's get back to Sarah and discover how one simple act of humanity created something beautiful. Sarah dabbed at her eyes with her napkin, trying to maintain the composure that had carried her through countless boardroom battles. She was about to signal for the check when she heard a small voice say, "Daddy, why is that pretty lady crying?" The man turned, and their eyes met. He had kind eyes, the kind that crinkled at the corners, and he looked genuinely concerned. "I'm so sorry," he said softly, leaning slightly toward her table. "My daughter Emma has a very big heart and not much of a filter yet." Sarah managed a watery smile. "It's okay. She's very sweet." The little girl, who couldn't have been more than 6, looked up at her father with wide, worried eyes. "Can we help her, Daddy? You always say we should help people who are sad." The man, whose name Sarah would soon learn was David, hesitated for just a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He stood up, walked over to Sarah's table, and said, "I don't mean to intrude, but you've been sitting here alone for quite a while, and my daughter's right. Nobody should look that sad on a Friday night. Would you like to join us? We're just having spaghetti and probably making a mess, but the company's genuine." Sarah was stunned. In her world of corporate meetings and carefully orchestrated social events, genuine spontaneous kindness was rare. She looked at this man in his slightly wrinkled button-down shirt, at his daughter with sauce on her chin and hope in her eyes, and something inside her said yes. "I'd like that very much," she heard herself say. David pulled out a chair for her, and within minutes, Sarah found herself laughing as Emma told her an elaborate story about her pet goldfish, Mr. Bubbles, who apparently had very important opinions about everything. David explained that he was an elementary school teacher and that Friday nights at Romano's had become their tradition since Emma's mother had passed away 2 years ago. It was her favorite place, David said quietly, while Emma was distracted with coloring on her kids' menu. "We come here to remember her, but also to remind ourselves that life still has beautiful moments." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes again, but this time they were different. "I'm supposed to be on a date," she admitted. "He never showed up. I've been so focused on my work that I forgot what it feels like to just connect with people." David nodded with understanding. "What do you do?" "I work in tech," Sarah said, defaulting to her standard vague answer. She wasn't ready to explain that she was the CEO of Mitchell Tech Solutions, that her face had been on the cover of Forbes, that she had 3,000 employees and a schedule managed down to the minute. For the next hour, Sarah experienced something she hadn't felt in years: normalcy. David didn't try to impress her or network with her. He just talked about his students, about the challenges of single parenting, about his dreams of maybe writing a children's book someday. Emma insisted Sarah help her color, and Sarah found herself carefully staying inside the lines of a princess drawing, something she hadn't done since she was Emma's age. When the check came, Sarah quietly handed the server her credit card before David could protest. "Please," she said. "You gave me something tonight that I didn't even know I needed. This is the least I can do." As they walked out together, Emma took Sarah's hand. "You're not sad anymore," she observed with the blunt honesty of children. No, sweetheart, Sarah said, squeezing the small hand in hers. I'm not sad anymore. David walked them to Sarah's car, and as she was about to leave, he said, I know this might sound forward, but would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? Emma and I do the park on Saturday mornings if you'd like to join us. Sarah felt something flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with quarterly earnings or stock prices. I'd really love that. It wasn't until their third coffee date that Sarah told David who she really was. She'd been terrified he'd treat her differently, but David had just laughed and said, I thought you seemed too confident to just work in tech. But honestly, I liked you better when you were just the woman who colored princesses with my daughter. 6 months later, they were inseparable. David taught Sarah to slow down, to notice sunsets and appreciate lazy Sunday mornings. Sarah helped David see that his dreams weren't too small or too late. And Emma? She became the flower girl at their wedding, proudly telling everyone that she'd known all along they were meant to be a family. The moral of this story isn't about wealth or status. It's about the extraordinary power of simple kindness. David didn't know Sarah was a billionaire when he invited her to his table. He just saw a fellow human being who needed compassion. And Sarah didn't fall in love with David because of grand gestures or expensive gifts. She fell for the gentle humanity of a man who taught his daughter that helping others matters more than anything else. So the next time you see someone sitting alone, looking lost or sad, remember this story. Remember that one small act of kindness can change everything. You never know whose life you might touch or how that moment of genuine care might ripple out into the world. Be the person who pulls up a chair. Be the person who offers a smile. Be the person who chooses compassion over convenience. Because in the end, kindness is the greatest currency we have, and it's the one thing that costs nothing but means everything.